This is the GTN show. Welcome and welcome back, Mark. Great to be working with you again.
Yeah, great to be back here with you. And I've got to say, I was pretty envious of you guys out in Lanzarote last week.
Yeah, sorry about that one. I'm not going to lie, it was very nice and very warm. And as you can see, it's pretty chilly in the UK right now.
It is, yeah. Well, coming up on the show this week, we have some research that shows that sprint cycle training could improve your running performance. And Ironman have just announced that you could win some slots for Kona this year, and we're going to be announcing some new events.
And of course, we'll have race results, and we're going to be discussing the recent swim cancellations at a few events.
Well, you're probably wondering why we're stood here beside the canal in Bath.
Aren't we going for a swim?
Well, probably not in this weather. Hopefully not, anyway. Well, it's because there's been quite a few swim cancellations recently. We had Lake Taupo this weekend just gone, and then the week before, Western Australia was cancelled due to sharks, and I believe even Escape from Alcatraz earlier this year.
That was due to weather. There's been like every kind of reason, and even a local event in the UK was cancelled due to algae, and it feels like it's becoming more common, this cancellation, and it's just got us thinking, or it's got me thinking, like, we are both strong swimmers. Like, for me, that's my strongest phase. I think it's your strongest phase as well, isn't
definitely.
it? And how would you feel? Like, I was talking to you before and you said you've not actually had a cancellation.
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely throw you when you plan for a race and you're just, getting your wetsuit on, being ready. You visualize swim, bike, run.
Yeah.
And suddenly someone 10 minutes before or an hour before says, you're not swimming, you're going to start on the bike. That throws you. And if you like, structure, it's not good. But I've got to say, I've never had the opportunity to. I say opportunity like it's a good thing.
Yeah.
But I quite like to try it.
Do you know, there might be some people agreeing with you who hate the swim. They might be like, I'd like that opportunity. But it's interesting, like you're saying, about throwing your plan. I mean, for Lake Taupo, I think they announced it about 5 days before, so it was a considerable amount because they knew the algae wasn't going to go. But I know for Alcatraz, Katie Zaferis, for example, was saying I think they were on the boat on their way out there, and then it got turned around. They had to come back, and
I think she got
said,
an Uber back or something.
Yeah, she did. And she was saying, like, for her, it's not just a matter of getting on the bike. It's how do you warm up? What clothes do you start in? Because you're not going to be wet, so you might dress differently. There's so many things that you wouldn't consider or think of that suddenly, throw it. I mean,
how would you find it, do you think?
I would be gutted. And especially I've mainly done longer distances, and that's the one bit that I can do well. And I just know that, at least I have a bit of a head start, and I enjoy the swim. And I mean, how would you feel if you finished, have you done a triathlon?
Have you done an Ironman?
Yeah. Well, that actually brings us on. We asked you guys what you thought about this or what experiences you've had. And just bear with me a second. We do have some interesting comments. We've got this one from Stephen Clark. He's actually a race organiser and said, not quite as exotic as Taupo, but the race organisers this year had to rearrange to swim the night before. So for organisers, it must be pretty stressful. And he said the flow was controlled by lock gates, and they were open just before the event, increasing the flow. But then apparently they bussed everyone upstream and made it a downstream race. So they got loads of PBs.
We were saying this before. I did a race in France years back, and to be honest, the swim should have been cancelled. We did 1,500 metres in about 11 or 12 minutes.
Yeah.
So
it's a bit like the running with the dog.
Yes,
one would get a PB. Yeah. We've got another one here from Simon Rouet from Ironman Western Australia, and said Cancellations was massively hard mentally. So like we were discussing, why bother doing 180k on a bike in a marathon when you finish it's not a real Ironman? I was on my 8th one though, really felt for first timers, and I completely agree with him on that. That said, they handled it really well and had no choice when you've got sharks in the water.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, at the end of the day, they're looking out for your safety. So as much as you complain to the organisers, they are looking out for you.
Yeah. I mean, there's one other point which might be worth kind of taking into account. Christoph Katenovic says that he actually thinks it's worth if you're so you're going to do your 1A race and it's an Ironman or it's a big race and you can't just go into another one quickly, then try and find one where the swim's less likely to be cancelled. But there's so many freak conditions that, I mean, you could maybe think a lake swim reduces the fact of weather, but you could have fog, you can have algae.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a tough one.
Okay, on to the race results, and still on the topic of Ironman 70.3 Taupo, we were just talking about the swim cancellation. Well, they actually made it a 3k run, a 90k bike, and a half marathon run to finish.
Yeah, I mean, that's a discussion for another time, but how does a 3K run compare to a 1.9K swim? But anyway, enough on that topic. For the results in the women's field, it was won by Amelia Watkinson in her home country. Second place was Jocelyn McCauley and third was Laura Dennis.
Well, over on the men's side, it was a rapid 3K run for half Ironman distance athletes. They went through 3K in 9:54. It's not bad, not bad.
Not hanging about.
Well, it was won by Mike Phillips, and in second it was Braden Curry, and in third it was Callum Millward. Okay, we are back in the studio because, to be honest, we just couldn't bear it out in the cold.
Yeah, it's nice to warm up.
And what can we complain when we've got Canadian viewers out there?
True.
Far worse conditions than us.
I'm not acclimatised to this though after Lanzarote. That's my excuse.
Well, on to the news anyway, and to start off we've got something a bit sciencey. Some recent research has proven that sprint cycling improves run performance, but not just any run performance. They're talking about intermittent run performance. So it's more specific to running and sort of ball games, that kind of thing. But there is parts of the research that show that it could help triathlon and endurance sports. So what they've shown is that even just cycling being non-weight bearing, less impact and less eccentric muscle contractions actually reduces muscle damage. So it's quite a good form of cross-training for aerobic endurance sports. So they're not advising that aerobic cycling for football and stuff, but for those long distance events.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you think, you know, sort of without thinking about the science, that cycling doesn't make your legs quite as sore. The similar level of cycling to similar level of running, you don't get that same DOMS. Yes, you can still get DOMS, but I never really thought about the fact there's less eccentric loading. If you're wondering what we're on about, eccentric loading is when your muscle is basically being loaded but lengthening at the same time. So it's
the physio in the house.
Sorry. So if you're walking, that's why it hurts to walk downstairs after a marathon. It's the eccentric loading. But I mean, I guess it's not groundbreaking science in some ways, that the cross-training thing. And it's interesting, you sometimes see that's how we get new triathletes, because runners do a bit of cross-training on the bike and then they become triathletes. But I think on the other side of it, Gwen Jorgensen's actually going to be using cycling as her cross-training as she's now moved to marathon. In other news, IMG have just announced a new race as part of their Escape Triathlon series. This one's going to be the Surf City at Huntington Beach. And it's the last chance for age groupers to qualify for the famous Escape to Alcatraz. So top 3 get a qualification slot. And it's definitely one for the swimmers. Like we were talking about earlier, sometimes it feels a little unfair.
I can imagine it being quite wavy there.
Yeah, I think this one is going to be known, well, Huntington Beach is known as a surf spot, so you're going to need to hone those surfing skills.
Let's sign us up.
I think we should go.
Well, on to other race news. ITU have just announced that they are launching their mixed relay series this coming year. So it's going to debut with their event in Nottingham, which they actually trialled with British Triathlon running an event there this year. And that's going to be part of their Leeds World WTS.
I think it's happening. Like they're just literally on the Friday, isn't it? And then they're all moving back up to Leeds. So it's almost like a bit of a mini tour in the UK.
It's gonna be really cool. And then they're going to have another one in Edmonton, and then finish it off with the World Championship Series final in Hamburg.
On to Ironman, and this week they've just announced that they've got 40 commemorative slots which are going to celebrate the 40 years since Ironman first started on Kona. And it's a little unsure how they're dealing them out, but it's some sort of lottery system, I think.
Well, I understand you've got up until the 14th of January to enter into this draw. And if you've entered an event for 2018, an Ironman event, you automatically entered into that draw. But it does bring us back to this old debate about the Ironman World Champs. And I mean, you've got 2,500 athletes that have qualified, the best in the world, to race at the World Champs. And then 40 people are just getting slots given to them.
I can imagine there's going to be, well, like I say, 2,400. Probably not everyone will be annoyed about it, but I'm sure some people who've worked really hard to get there will be. But then there's going to be 40 people who are just ecstatic.
Yeah.
That they get to go.
And it is a great celebration, 40 years. I mean, how would you find it, having qualified?
Yeah, so I mean, from a personal point of view, I'm always like, it is a World Championships. It's not just an exhibition event, and that would be different.
You worked so hard to get there.
Yeah, but maybe you need to enter for one of those slots, Mark.
Yeah, true, actually. I might actually take it. Well, I guess the jury's out there. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please drop them in the comments below.
Yeah, and whilst we're looking ahead to next year, the race calendar, the ITU Festival have just announced their cross-country course, for the ITU Triathlon cross-country, and it's the Crown Prince himself, who's the patron to the event, has actually ridden it, which is pretty cool.
And I understand he went around with Michelle Vesterby, which isn't a bad riding partner.
No, I think he was keeping up. He sounds quite a keen triathlete himself, and apparently the course was technical but also quite fast, so it's going to be one interesting one to watch. So keep an eye out the 6th to the 14th of July next year on the island of Fyn in Denmark.
Okay, and on to the weekly poll. And after such an impressive run from Toronto Bizzoni with 4 wins over 4 consecutive weekends, pretty amazing.
It is.
It posed the question of how many A races you should have in a year. So we're talking about those races that you really peak for in your best fitness and condition. So in third place, joint third place in fact, it was 0, and on the opposite end of the scale, 4 or more races, and that was 7%. In second place, it was 3 to 4, and that was 28%. And in first place, it was 1 or 2 races, and that was 56%.
Yeah, by far the most popular. Well, this week we've got a slightly more diverse question that we're going to ask you. And we've led into this from quite a few swims being cancelled. So obviously Lake Taupo last weekend, which we talked about, and Australia before that. How do you make it fair when the swim is cancelled? So we've got a few ideas and we want to know what you think. So the first one, pretty standard, replacing the swim with a run like they did in Taupo. So doing a duathlon, run, bike, run. Second option, making the cycle longer, just so that you're replicating the rough time that the race would be. So depending on the length of the race, how much you increase that cycle by. This one I came up with for making it a bit more specific to swimming, so that if you think you've worked your upper body for all that time, and then how about doing some pull-ups, because you don't want to have wasted all those muscles that you've been working on. And then finally,
I think I'd be pretty good at that one.
Do you? I'm not going to give I'm not going to have a contest with you.
I really wouldn't be.
Would you not? I don't think either of us, but I think I'm definitely better at swimming. Anyway, our final one is rowing, which is maybe the closest replication to swimming. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's quite good. People use that for cross training for sure, so it's quite good.
Logistically, it could be difficult getting all the rowing machines.
How about BMR? I didn't see that down there.
Okay, that's yours. Anyway, we want to know what suggestions you have, hopefully better than Mark's. So leave them in the comments section below and vote on the poll by clicking on the link above my head. It's time for GTN Tribe, and last week we featured our first British club from Tunbridge Wells, and this week I think it's time we went somewhere a little bit warmer. We're heading to the Philippines, to Manila, and we have the Praetorian Triathlon team, and it's Julius Ramos who's actually sent in some really cool pictures and given us a little bit of an idea of what goes on behind the closed doors in his club, and it looks like quite a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like quite a nice close-knit club, and they actually have a little ethos. They say, triathlon for our team is a perfect venue to learn patience, resiliency, discipline, and sometimes humour. I
want to hear always humour. I think, when you're training you can still have fun, but a great motto. And
I've got to say, I love their kit. Look at that. It's pretty striking.
It is.
It's cool, yeah.
You won't miss them anyway.
And from what I understand, they also have some quite nicely established sponsors, which is impressive for a local club. That's really cool. But most importantly, they like to have fun.
Yeah.
Look at this picture.
Here's definitely an example of their sometimes humour. I think the Christmas party, I think from what they said, this has just happened. And it looks like they're up for a fun evening anyway.
Yeah, I think I might don some goggles for our Christmas party, Heather.
You've said it on camera. It's got to happen now.
And also, really nice to see, obviously very passionate about kids' participation in sport and triathlon. So here's a photo we found from a recent event. And it looks like one of the parents or other club members helping one of the children running into the water. Looks like great fun.
It's all inclusive.
Really cool.
I think.
Grassroots and everything. Really cool.
Well, as you can tell, we're a little bit nosy and we love seeing what happens in other people's clubs. So please let us know or send in any photos, any videos, anything that's interesting from your club, and we'd love to share it on the show. So just send it in using the hashtag GTN Tribe on Facebook or on Twitter. It's time for the caption competition, your chance to win a GTN cap. And the picture last week was me on the treadmill, struggling to hang on, or that's what it looked like. And we had loads of great suggestions, as always.
Yep, so we've got one here. As a runner-up, Ryan Kelly, I like this one, he said, in the next lesson, Heather will show you how to do a flying mount onto the treadmill. A pro move for sure. Quite timely, actually, because a great flying mount video has just come out from Heather and Mark Buckingham out in Lanzarote.
I know, that's pretty, this was sent in before that video went out.
Yeah, so check that video out.
Yeah, maybe I can teach you a flying mount, not on a treadmill, but on a bike. But anyway, my favourite was this one from P Bus Red. Hang on a moment, it says, turn the fan off, turn the fan off, turn the fan off! It looks as though I'm hanging on, obviously, but a great one. P Bus Red, please send in your details so you can gain your free cap.
And on to the caption competition for this week. Triathlon, or ITU, have just put out a load of great photos from one of their photographers, Janos Schmidt, and we thought we'd pick out one from Hamburg earlier this year. And it is Ryan Sissons, Mario Mola, and Bert Whistle on the podium. And it sort of looks like Bert Whistle's just standing there waiting for the beer to be thrown in his face.
Everyone says a pint of beer is refreshing. I don't drink beer, so I wouldn't know, but maybe it's equally refreshing if you've had it poured on you. I don't know.
It's like a little bit more than a pint. But
that's fine.
We'd love to hear your suggestions, so please drop your captions in the comments below. Okay, on to comments of the week, and we're doing it this week because quite a few people picked up on the bike shaking in the background of the show last week. And I have to say, I watched that show quite nervously, gripping the table, waiting for that bike to fall over, which is actually my bike that I've never ridden.
It's very kind of you to lend it to us in Lanzarote, and we did look after it, I promise.
Well, quite a few people obviously picked up on it. Andrew Ferguson said, did that bike blow over at any point? Did it?
It didn't. I promise you. It didn't.
I'm not convinced. Hax Haxum said, I was never this paranoid about a bike shaking in a video, and I have to agree, I was also very paranoid.
Do you know, I completely wasn't. I was so annoyed and worried about the wind blowing the hair across my face.
I noticed.
Okay, I guess you had
a few.
But I didn't even realise the bike was moving. So, but I didn't hear any crashing sounds, so I think it was okay.
Okay, I'll have to
so
take
yeah,
your word
everyone,
for it.
we appreciate your concern though.
Yeah, well, if you know Lanzarote, anyone out there, you'll know just how windy it is. So we know what you had to deal with.
Have a few minutes rest and then attempt that set again.
Okay, and moving on to the GTN Pain Cave. To start off, we have one here from Dan Mew. He sent it in over Facebook, and he has a treadmill set up alongside his turbo trainer.
Yeah, and he's obviously a bit of a sweater, or maybe it's a bit warm in there because he's got sweat catcher and a towel to cover the wheel, so a lot of protection from any spatterings
and
there.
He has a whiteboard up as well, so you can obviously write up his sessions, and he's got a dual screen setup. It's pretty pro. Oh, and an iPad. Flipping egg.
Do you know,
cool.
I'm most excited about the trampette. I don't know what he uses that for, but maybe rehab.
Yeah, I really like that. It's really nice. Okay, moving on, we have one here from Evgeny Baczynski, and he sent this one in over Facebook, and this is a couple.
Yeah, it's nice that they can run. I think they're cycling actually, side by side. Not sure what they're watching on their screen. It's a large screen. They're pretty close to that. I mean, watch your eyes. You don't want to get square eyes. That's what my mum always said.
Well, moving on, we have one here from Kirsty Mulvey, and it's another his and hers sent in over Facebook. So they've got their turbos set up alongside each other, and a bit of bike racing on the TV for motivation.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty close together, which is nice. They've got, obviously get on pretty well, nice love emblem. It's all about love in this pain cave, but yeah, we like it.
Well, please keep sending in your pain caves in over Twitter using the hashtag GTN Pain Cave or over Facebook.
That's it for this week's show. If you've enjoyed it, do give us a thumbs up, and remember you can subscribe to GTN by clicking on the globe. And if you want to watch that video we mentioned earlier on the flying man, just click down here.
And if you want to watch a bike wash video, which is pretty apt for timing for us guys in the UK with winter and coming back from rides with grubby bikes, you can watch that by clicking down here.